Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Good. I'm trying to figure out why the go live button didn't work for me. It's just not a big J night, I guess.
Doesn't like you.
Did you pay your taxes?
Looks like it didn't like your red shirt.
Did I pay my taxes? Yeah, and I am wearing a red shirt, so that's probably what did it.
That's probably
Who
it.
knows?
That's probably it. By the way, I'm having two new snacks today. Always in the interest of snacks. I've got these were at Costco. Sweet potato chips.
Ooh.
Fried in avocado oil, which is ridiculously healthy, right? Like most of the time, any chip you get is fried in shit. It's fried in seed oil, and that's what's bad about it. Like it's not the corn in the corn chip that's bad. It's that it's fried in shit. You know, these are fried in avocado oil, which is just like stupidly healthy. So that's one, and the other is, you know, the big thing these days are like cheese crisps because there's no carbs in them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've seen them all over the place, but most of them you get tired of them. These are pizza flavored, and so there's like tomato and basil, and they're awesome. So anyway, that's what I'm snacking on.
What are those? Like what brand?
What's that?
What brand are those? What are those?
You know, I don't know, but I'll photograph the bag when I go downstairs and send you a copy. How's everyone doing? How's the? I got to ask Alexander. How's your little one doing? I know you said you visited him today.
Yeah, he's doing fine. He's almost rolling over now, so he's found his feet and trying to fit them into his face, which is quite funny to watch. And he's now 10 pounds 9 ounces.
Wow!
So, considering he entered the world at 1 pound 6,
I know, crazy.
That's amazing.
So he's still underweight, and the nurses doing the health checks are constantly, he's not eating enough. But you can't force feed a baby. He'll only eat so much before he starts. Right. He actually bats the bottle away now. He's like, nope,
I'm done.
So yeah, there's only so much we can feed him.
We could all learn something from that baby.
Oh yes. He has a mind of his own already. He knows what he wants and he knows how to get it.
Well, good. All right. Well,
that's cute.
Glad he's doing well. So unfortunately, if you look in the background, my office, there's papers all over my floor. It's a bit of a mess because I let the cats back in. And when the cats come in, they just raise hell in my office.
The cats will do that.
Oh my God.
We know what it really was, Alec. CBS raided your office, and you know they were the cats are working for CBS, and they come in and they flip the place.
Here's something from CBS.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and it's certified too.
That was upset. You owe us $300,000. Why? Because you lied on the stand and convinced an arbitrator of your bullshit. Yeah, you go suck an egg.
No pound dust.
I really hope all this goes away once this whole sale goes through, though.
I hope so too. Right? Wouldn't it be nice if CBS Skydance had? I think. Listen, I'm hoping they have a different attitude. Right? It's hard to believe that when you look around at all the studios and the way they treat fan films, it's like we got the short end of the stick. We got we got the two studios who have the worst attitude about fan films, and it's weird because Mark Edward Lewis met someone who worked at Paramount who loved Axanar. We're like, wow, you need to get promoted.
Yeah, really.
It's not the staff on the ground at CBS or Paramount, you know. It's the bigwigs, the people sitting behind desks who think they know it all. You know, they've still got the Neanderthal thinking of, you know, ugh, it's my property. Rather than embracing, they're going, no, this is our property. You go away.
Right. Are you talking about the billionaires that reward hard work with the pizza party? Are those the people we're talking about?
Yeah.
No, these are worse. These are ones that serve cease and desist to the people doing the hard work.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, of course, them.
They don't want to give anyone credit for keeping Trek alive other than themselves. They want to keep patting themselves on the back for keeping Trek alive for all these years when they damn well know that it was fan film creators and fans that kept the franchise alive. Between 1960. When did it go off? The original series went off there in 68, right? 68 or 69. From 68, and they had the animated series all the way up to
69. Yeah, 69.
Was it 69? Okay, 69
68,
all the way up
69
till 79 when the movies started coming out, and then TNG and kept it all the way through there. Then the fans kept it alive from the end of Enterprise in 2005 all the way up to 2009 ish when the movies started coming out. But I still wouldn't say the resurgence of Trek came until the CBS All Access and all that. But fan films are always the things that have been keeping Star Trek alive. The fanfics, the fan films, all of these things. The
fanzines back in the 70s and 80s. It was fanzines.
Yeah. The extended canon, the books and stuff like that, even though those are still somewhat official, you can still see that's what's kept Trek alive all these years, not the executives. The executives weren't sitting there on Star Trek doing CPR going, come on, Trek, give us a couple more years, a couple more episodes. No, they were, as soon as the fan base turned their back on Enterprise, which they did. I was around for that. They dumped that as soon as they could. There were people.
I said, yeah, what a shit show during the time of Enterprise. I mean, you brought in basically someone that disliked Star Trek with a passion to run CBS, and the fans. This was the earlier, well, I wouldn't say early days of the internet, but it was the early-ish days when it was cool to bash TV shows, and Star Trek Enterprise just got lambasted constantly. So all of these people that are like, oh, we should have got a 5th season of Enterprise. No, you're the same ones that bitch and complain about it the entire time and helped get it canceled.
Yeah.
Don't give me none of that. We should have got
the silent majority enjoyed the show for what it was.
Yeah,
and it was just the verbal minority that got it canned.
Well, I think ratings did that too. As I said,
yeah.
I agree. And
they rigged the ratings. They scheduled it. They put it on a schedule which had it or later at night, so people used TiVo. I think was the American thing back in the day. The ratings did not take TiVo into account. It's only live viewings that they took into account, and the CEO knew that. So how can I get this shit canned? Have the ratings drop below.
They put them on Friday night? Wasn't that Friday night when they moved them?
Friday night when everybody else is busy watching football or something. I don't know what.
I mean, I was watching Star Trek. I wasn't watching football. That's for damn sure.
I'm glad you said football, real football, football, actual football, American football.
Wait, not soccer?
You mean rugby for pussies, right? Yeah.
Boo! Get this guy off this live stream.
Our rugby players don't have all these
teeth. Your rugby players don't have teeth.
Well, they do, but they're not their own. Rugby is 80 minutes of pretending not to be injured.
Right. Yeah.
They're all running around with bloody noses, and they've all got. If you look at them, they've all got cauliflower ears from all the tackles and stuff like that. Those are true sportsmen. Not these $1 million paid prima donnas that they roll around on the ground as if you've just chopped their leg off just because someone brushed past their shirt.
Right.
Oh, you mean?
I mean, I'll agree with you. These people get paid way too much to pretend like they know what they're doing, but
fan films is where it's at, and I'm hoping that we get. I'm hoping that we get someone in the head seat there at Paramount/CBS that understands that and appreciates that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be wonderful.
I don't expect it to happen, but you never know.
I don't know. I mean, Alec, what do you think? Like, let's realistically, I know we talked about this a little bit last week, but Alec, what do you think? Like going in, like, let's say the merger and everything goes through. How do you think do you think they'll just keep the status quo with Skydance?
I don't, because there's no. Look at it this way: the current philosophy of CBS and Paramount towards fan films is part of it is hands off. It is basically we came out with the guidelines. We're gonna leave them alone, except Axanar, and we're gonna fuck with those guys as much as possible because they had the nerve to make something good, and then they had the nerve to get a law firm and fight us when we sued them, and that cost us a couple $1 million. So we're gonna be assholes. That's their flaw. So new regime comes in. They've got no animosity towards us. They've got no animosity towards fan films, and David Ellison's a Star Trek fan. So you would think that the logical thing is to say, well, let's just be, let's cultivate fan films. Let's take a Lucasfilm-like attitude towards fan films, especially if it costs them nothing. Why would they antagonize fans? I mean, if it costs them nothing to be nice to us and to have us sing their praises and so on and so forth.
And
the
fans are footing the bill.
Yeah, I listen. With all due respect to Rod Roddenberry and Trevor Roth, who Roddenberry Enterprises. There was a big deal. Oh, well, we're making them executive producers. Well, they did that so they could reclaim all the license rights from Rod, because they were out making all the, they were making all the replicas and all that stuff, and they had some sort of license, Gene Roddenberry legacy license deal. So they reclaimed that and they made them executive producers. But they kind of, the way they pitched it was, oh, well, we're bringing Roddenberry back in. Now, let's see. Rod Roddenberry is a Star Wars fan. He's not a Star Trek.
Really?
Listen. Yeah. This is what I'm told. All right. And I met him. I love, nice guy. His wife's lovely. And my point is that adding him in, they positioned it as we're going to make, bringing him in, and that's going to win us fans or whatever. Did nothing, because most fans don't even know who Rod Roddenberry is. That they don't care. And again, with all due respect to Rod and Trevor, and I doubt they had much input at all in anything that was done.
Those titles are just honorary.
Yeah, and again, not taking anything away from those guys. I know I used to talk to Trevor Roth, super nice guy. I enjoy, whatever. But what did it do? So you look at if you're going to take over Star Trek, especially if they're getting rid of Kurtzman, right? Because I'm hearing that Skydance doesn't like Kurtzman. That's what I heard.
Really? Oh,
may or may not be true. So let's put big disclaimer here. Take this with a boatload of salt. But if that is in fact true, because Skydance was involved in Star Trek Beyond, which is the one Star Trek of JJ's Star Trek movies that Kurtzman wasn't involved in. So let's assume that. Again, nothing against Kurtzman, right? We've had this discussion before. I am not a Kurtzman hater. But let's assume that they move him out. They're going to bring someone else in. Who knows who that is? Maybe it's, if they're smart, it's Terry Matalas, right?
I think they're bringing Kathleen Kennedy in. Yeah.
Suddenly Picard's female.
What they have to do is they have to look around and say, what can we do to better Star Trek? Well, how about a better relationship with the fans, right? That would be a really good thing. They probably want to, I would give Creation the license back for Star Trek conventions. Now, I would, knowing Creation and knowing the complaints that everyone has about Creation, who do a wonderful job. Again, don't want to get on
money
Gary.
grabbing Ferengi.
Gary, I don't want to get on Gary and Adam both because I mean I've known Gary for 30 years and Adam's a super nice guy, but there are issues with him. So I put some constraints and so on and so forth around him. That being said, what's the easiest thing they can do that costs them nothing? The easiest thing they can do is getting good with the fans.
Yeah.
The hardcore fans. If you win over the hardcore fans, everything else is easy. That's not saying that you're going to make Star Trek fan films and put them on, CBS All Access or Paramount Plus or whatever the hell it's called this week. But just how about some outreach? How about some positive news about what you're doing with fans? It cost you zero. Benefits would be enormous. So. I think that is the best case scenario. What I would want is for them to reach out to not just fan films, but fandom with open arms and say, hey, we're going to all take Star Trek into its next phase, whatever that is. You've had the Kurtzman phase, good and bad. Let's take it to the Skydance phase, whatever that is. But I think if they embrace the fans in an interesting and unique way, then that will just inure all those benefits inure to the franchise. And I've said for 10 years now, I said I have nothing against Star Trek the IP. Right? I love Star Trek. It's my favorite IP. Maybe it's my second favorite, but it's behind Marvel Comics. But I can separate the IP from the IP holder. CBS and Paramount are just the current holders of the intellectual property of Star Trek. And soon it's going to be Skydance, who owns Paramount, will own Paramount. So, I wish Skydance the best. I'm like, geez, guys, knock this one out of the park. It's tough when you're not the guy responsible for the $1 billion company, right? I mean, David Ellison, he ain't thinking about you and me and fan films, I guarantee you. But the benefit we have is we know how easy it would be with a minimal amount of outreach to reach out to fans all across the world, Star Trek fans. It would, I mean, heck, if you invested $250,000 a year, you would have there's a way to do it. Get all the influencers and get all the websites and get the podcasts and the fan films and everything. They could spend the littlest amount of money and just dominate. The goodwill would be, you can create it so that, because think of it, even if Skydance closes its deal by the end of, let's say it's the end of next year, by the end of 2025, and they're going into 2026 as owners of Paramount and CBS, it's going to take at least a year before there's new Star Trek. At least a year. How about if you're spending all of the time cultivating the fan base, reaching out to fans, running competitions and sweepstakes and you name it.
Design the next Enterprise.
Whatever the case, because they have a couple good licensees that they can do that with. That's why I'm saying go back to creation. That's why Star Trek Online is a wonderful one. Star Trek, the whole Star Trek wine thing is interesting, but it's priced. They need to come out with a 12-pack of Romulan ale or something. Or a 6-pack or something more expensive. But they have some licensees who are good, who they can do things with, and so anyway. So there you go. Long answer to a short question, but I think there's I am nothing but excited about it.
And it kills me that they're not.
There.
Yeah, and it kills me that they're not doing any of this stuff, and it will be even worse if this does happen. And when Skydance comes in and they don't do anything to change the status quo or the attitude towards anything fan created or created by somebody that's not a Paramount employee, which I think is a very short-sighted thing when you think about it, because a lot of there's so much that's out there that can be done. And I think it's a shame that every time I go into a store, and I'm going to talk about merchandising, every time I go into a Target, Walmart, whatever it is, you go to the toy section, you will see everything, every product. They've got Star Wars, He-Man, Power Rangers. I think there's still G.I. Joe, Marvel, DC, you name it. Star Trek, forget about it. No Star Trek anything anywhere.
Nope.
You have to go to the specialist shops for whatever's available.
Yeah. It's the same when I go in Barnes & Noble. I always go to the science fiction section first, and I look. And there's the Star Wars, which Star Wars is all over the place. And Star Trek, no, they got a tiny
Star Wars has always been the products, not the films themselves, but all the toys.
Oh, it's been a merchandising machine.
Yeah, the merchandise, because they had the merchandise in place before they even finished the film, if I remember correctly.
And what is Star Trek? And Star Trek, we get the Spock helmet. I mean,
yeah, cash grab by some company. How can we cash grab this? Well, we've got this helmet, which has fire or police on it. But what if the sticker says Spock or Kirk?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
right.
And I liked how in Lower Decks you had someone uncover one of them when they were pulling the ship apart.
Freaking brilliant. That was just freaking brilliant.
I appreciated that.
Yeah.
But no,
what
they could do something so easy like copy and paste the Lucasfilm guidelines. It has to be such and such long. Do this, that, and the other.
They should do a film festival. They should do an official Star Trek fan film festival.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Why not? Cost you nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You hire Jonathan Lane to run it.
You could probably charge admission, and people would pay it to get in.
Oh my God, you could and the cheesiness of some fan films. I'm looking at you, Vance Major. I love you, but the cheesiness works in your favor in that kind of environment. You could do it. You could do it and have it, and people would love it. I mean, it would become kind of like a whole Rocky Horror Picture Show midnight showing type thing. I mean, people could really get into it. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things available. Yeah, that's a great idea, Stephen. An Enterprise movie with this Zin.
I just think a lot of the actors are too old, unless they age up unless they do an Enterprise movie where it's like
30 years later.
Yeah, like 30 years later. I feel like they've aged quite a bit, and I'm not saying they're old, because I know some of the cast were pretty young when the show was going, but
who are you talking? Which cast are you talking about now?
The Enterprise cast.
Cast of Enterprise.
Oh, Enterprise, yeah.
I just feel like, as I said, I would be all down for, and I've said this before in the past, I'd be all down for like a either movie or limited series following Scott Bakula as the first president of the United Federation of Planets. Yeah. And you can have all those reoccurring characters come back. You can have Trip there. You can have Reed there as the head of Starfleet Defense. You can have all those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, think of, you had Picard season 3. Right, you could do the same thing with any show and have, and so yeah, I think Star Trek just needs to be mined correctly, and that's a product of intelligent leadership, TV, I was going to say filmmaking expertise, and a passion for the project. I mean, if we look at Kurtzman and we look at and if we look at all the Star Trek we've seen since 2009, when they relaunched it, between JJ and Kurtzman, well, neither of those guys were hardcore Star Trek fans, right?
JJ is a Star Wars fan.
And JJ is a Star Wars fan. Yeah,
absolutely.
So they really need someone like Terry Matalas, to really who loves it. Now, you can't constantly make, you can't keep mining the Star Trek The Next Generation. You can't keep mining that for ideas. Right. But there's lots of opportunity. I mean, listen, Discovery should have been set after Voyager.
It was. Yep. Eventually.
Yeah. Why did they feel the need to go back and retcon history? And they didn't, I would argue that that's a decision made by a non-Star Trek fan, right? Because what did Star Trek fans want? You could line all the Star Trek fans up and pull them all. And
So-
that was not the idea that they would go back in time. What? Why would you go back and retcon everything and just set it after Voyager? We want to know what's going on in the Federation after Voyager, because that is the Star Trek that people cared about.
Well, for some reason, it seems to be that it's either cool or in fashion to have your show somehow based on the original series, but not be the original series. And I mean stuff like have it in an alternate timeline, in the case of Kelvin timeline, or have it take place before the original series, like Discovery and Strange New Worlds, Enterprise, if we want to go back even further. So there seems to be kind of this fulcrum point that is the original series. And for whatever reason, we feel like the Star Trek to have is anything that takes place before or is tied to the original series.
That's not the way Star Trek worked for
It shouldn't be.
forever. TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, even Enterprise. None of those really, they kind of touched on it. You'd have a Relics episode, or you'd mention Kirk in Naked Now or whatever.
Mhm.
But they were able to do it so effectively for so long, that I don't, and now they're talking about the new Star Trek movie is going to go and tell the story of the origin of the Federation or whatever.
Oh, give me a break.
I mean,
Really?
And which I get back to what you just said. I think, Jeff, was like, do that as a 6-episode miniseries with Scott Bakula coming back as president. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
right. That's what you do. But by the way, Brian Simpson is there. Hail, Brian Simpson. It's good to see Brian Simpson. It's good to see you from Ventura. It's good to see you. Yeah. So I don't have all the answers.
I would have to tell you, I am so not excited about a movie around the formation of the Federation. That just gives me such a who cares vibe. Now,
it'll be such a dry subject as well.
Well,
yes.
And in Star Trek Beyond, when they tied the Franklin back to the Enterprise era, I was like, okay, well, why is the registry that number? And when did this ship? Again, it's like, who's making these decisions, guys? You're just fucking things up with no reason. Again, Discovery should have been set after Voyager.
Yep.
Then you could have had all the Voyager people guest star in it. You could have anyone you wanted guest star in it. Right.
But the main part was they wanted to have the marketing center around Spock having yet another sibling that he had never.
So fucking stupid.
That was the entire crux of the shows.
Yeah,
we want this series to somehow have some kind of tie to the original series. Oh, Spock had an adoptive sister.
Yeah.
Well, they always did say that Discovery, it's not about the crew, it's about one person.
It really is. It is very Burnham's focused, and I mean that's always been its downfall for me. Is it's always been just one crew, and they did get better like season 3 on with focusing on other crew members other than Burnham.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know it definitely was a one-woman show, and I'm not blaming Shaniqua Martin Green. Like that's not. Nope. She's a great actress. I think she does great with the part, but it's the writing and the directing and the direction of the show.
It's just an ill-conceived concept for a series, I think. And in a way, I believe
best as an ensemble.
Yes, it does. And I think that is a problem. When you take a movie like Nemesis, a show like the first couple seasons of Discovery, look at what happens. And also when you have, I lost it. But basically my point is, and especially with Nemesis, is there's this thing where it's let's get somebody that's not a fan of this franchise to direct or guide a movie or show in this franchise. And I don't know if that's supposed to be cool or hip, but it's not, because you get huge misfires like that. When it comes to Star Trek, you should not have a director or showrunner or someone behind the reins that is not a Star Trek fan, because it doesn't go well. You're not going to suddenly get some kind of perspective that you're missing. It's not going to be, all right, what will make Star Trek great? I know, let's get somebody that isn't a fan. So then they'll have this outside view. They'll be able to come into it with fresh eyes. No, that's not what that means. No. That's not what you're going to get. What you're going to get is a movie like Nemesis, where you're right. You're going to get a movie like Nemesis where your director, first-time director, he was an editor before then, didn't even know the names of the cast or their characters. Yeah, you're going to get bad things like that.
Yeah, but you also don't want to go the opposite side of the pendulum and get a fanboy or girl.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, you don't want that.
You
either.
have to control it. You have to control it. Otherwise, you get garbage either way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Rise of Skywalker was the biggest Star Wars fan film ever.
Made a lot of money,
and it made.
Speaking of using,
make a lot of money. I would argue the best thing.
What? Sorry?
I would argue the best thing about Force Awakens, it was the trailer. I think it was all downhill after the trailer. Like
the music in the trailer sold me.
Yeah, the trailer.
Poe Dameron sold me. I love Poe Dameron so much. I would watch a whole Star Wars trilogy based on him flying that X-wing around. I love Poe.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay,
fair enough.
That's interesting.
But touching on the bringing a director in that's not a fan. Look at what they've done with Ahsoka. What's her face? Leslie Headland, I think. She quite triumphantly said, "Well, when I was looking for a director, I spoke to this person. And she went, Star Wars, is that the one with the big bear?" And she went, "You're hired."
Oh my god!
Like, oh my goodness!
Wait a minute.
Why?
Who did Ahsoka?
No, you mean the Acolyte.
No, the Acolyte.
Okay.
Oh,
I was just going to say, I'm like, Acolyte, I'm pretty sure was done by people who knew Star Wars. Wasn't that Filoni?
Ahsoka was done by people who know what they're doing. But the Acolyte is, the writers and the directors are all non-Star Wars fans, and it shows.
Well, okay, so I know this is a Trek podcast, but can I say something about the Acolyte really quick? I'm not going to do spoilers. I'm just going to do generalization.
Let's hear it.
So the Acolyte, I get what they were going for. I think it was just poorly executed. I actually like the premise of the show. I actually like what they were going for. I just think that a lot of the facets that they were trying to put in place were poorly secured, and they weren't there wasn't much grounding there in the Star Wars universe for it to really hit home with the fans. Mm-hmm. And I did like the fight scenes are fantastic. The choreography is great in that show.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
The lightsaber fights were awesome.
Yeah, mm-hmm. But the story and the premise, just everything was just poorly executed, and that's the saddest part because I liked the premise I liked what they were going for. I liked that they were but
and
especially it said 100 years before the prequels. I like that because I'm like, man, get out of the Skywalker saga. Just get out. Yeah. I don't want no more Skywalker nonsense. Mm-hmm, give me some, it's just everything around that was just so poorly executed. It just couldn't save it.
And they got out of it by playing with the concept that was introduced with the Skywalker saga and the prequels. Like, they just can't fully get away from something that is known. Star Trek does the same thing. It's like there's always this last second fear of doing something completely new or different. There's always this tie-in. Discovery couldn't do something new and different because it was a prequel, and they tied the whole thing around Spock having a sister suddenly. And the Acolyte had to tie itself around a concept that was raised in the Phantom Menace, with the Force, someone being powerful enough in the Force to be able to create life. A concept that was created in the Phantom Menace with Anakin Skywalker. So you get these things. You're hiring people to direct and run that aren't fans, that don't know the content, and then even if you do, you don't quite want to fully embrace doing something that's different. It's like our show or our movie will not be successful if we don't tie into something that is previously known, whether it's by name or by concept or a cameo or mention or something.
What I think works really well, and it works here in Star Wars, is finding that piece of it and exploring it. So the Mandalore, right? The Mandalorian, it's the legacy, the history of Mandalore, right? That's interesting. Lots of people care about that. So how about exploring it? I mean, I want to see, I don't have time to read the books, but I'd love to learn about the High Republic. Give me more info about that. I think and Star Wars is so beautifully built that they could go back. It's that. Think of it this way. You think of Yellowstone, and Yellowstone has like what, three prequels that have come out about it.
Something crazy.
Star Wars. You could have a series about different time periods for the rest of time itself.
Can I throw a counterpoint out for you, Jefferson, though, about you were talking about, being its own thing?
Sure.
But here we go all the fans are talking about Starfleet Academy. And I get it. It's in disco time and people want to get distance from disco. However, they are trying something new. This is a completely new concept, conceptually in the Star Trek universe. Starfleet Academy as a show has never really been explored. Even Lower Decks technically was something different. It was, these people had already graduated. They're not little peons. They actually have duties on a starship. They're just peons. But the fans are already turning on Starfleet Academy. And I know why. It's because they want Star Trek Legacy. And I understand Star Trek Legacy. I know what, I don't mind it. If they announce Star Trek Legacy tomorrow, I would be thrilled. But the problem is that now they're like, they want Star Trek Legacy, which is kind of same old Trek, if you think about it.
Yeah.
But yet we have Starfleet Academy. That's this new thing that is a new format that is going to be something different. And the fans are already turning on it. And I just don't understand why. As I said, the only thing I can do is that they hate disco so much that they don't want it because of that. But
yes, the reason that fans already dislike Starfleet Academy is because it has even one iota to do with Discovery, and because the it thing was to hate Discovery. That is why. Now, I'm not a Discovery hater. I thought there were a lot of questionable things that happened in the first season of Discovery, but I'm not a Discovery hater. Starfleet Academy is a spinoff from Discovery, and because of that, that's why Starfleet Academy is disliked already. And the thing with that, I'll make the point, if Star Trek Legacy were to happen, it's going into it not trying to avoid those past tie-ins. Like that would be the entire concept behind it. It's not doing something where it's okay, we want to do this new show and use past Star Trek as a crutch. It's not using it as a crutch. It's full on embracing it. And I think that's the difference. The difference is, are you trying to use established Star Trek as a crutch for your show, or are you going in fully embracing it? Like season 3 of Picard did not use TNG as a crutch. That was the whole damn point of the season, and they exactly. dove in head first and didn't deny it. Discovery used the original series as a crutch. So there's a difference there in my opinion. But that's the explanation as to why people already dislike Starfleet Academy, is because it's a spinoff of Discovery.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I don't see a problem so much building on the past. I mean, that's what all the good Star Trek series did. TNG referenced TOS a lot. DS9 references TNG every so often. Voyager references them all.
Mm-hmm.
And even Strange New Worlds to a certain point has made little references here, there, and
To
everywhere.
Enterprise.
Or even Prime Directive. It'll never stick. Brilliant line, little line. I don't see a problem with that at all, and I'm going to give Academy its chance. It might turn out to be Beverly Hills 90210 in space, at which point I'm just not going to be interested at all.
Don't sit here and act like you're not going to watch it. You're a Star Trek podcaster. It is our duty to watch it,
well,
even if you don't like it.
I have not watched Prodigy. I can't say.
You can't even pronounce
season
the
two's been good so far.
Prodigy
series.
It's 1:45 in the morning here.
I'll be right back.
I've been up since 5 a.m. Words like that are not easy for me to say right now.
Yeah, the second season, you got to catch up on that. It's good.
I would say the second season is a marked improvement from the first season.
I was out to dinner with my friend the other night, and he is someone whose opinion I can trust. Generally, if he likes something, I'm going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
If something pisses him off, it's the same thing that's pissing me off. And he said he enjoyed season 2, and it is the most Star Trek thing that's come out since probably TNG or Voyager.
But that's technically Trek. Every first and second, like sometimes even second season of a show is always a rough go. Like, you know what I mean? Like we always have rough goes with some of these seasons in the beginning.
I'm not even questioning the writing or anything like that. It's just the voices. They're just it's a children's show. It's designed to appeal to children, so the voices are childlike, and it's just it's cringe for me.
Well,
I couldn't get past the first episode.
But you answered your first concern already. It's a children's show. The audience for Prodigy are our children, either our children or the young ones in our family. Not necessarily directed at us. Now, then one thing I will say about the second season of Prodigy, and I don't want to do any spoilers, but I felt like the storyline of the show was maybe a bit advanced for the. Sorry, that's me buzzing. Let me. A bit advanced for the. Sorry about that. For the audience, because it took me a bit to understand what was going on and what was happening, and I just kept thinking to myself, okay, if this is a show directed at a younger audience, it seems like this might be kind of confusing for them. And I don't watch a lot of shows directed at kids to be able to compare it to anything else. I don't know if that's just what it is. And Big J, kids are more advanced than you think.
Big J sits there and watches Bluey on repeat.
I've had to sit through my fair share of Bluey. Yes, I've got kids, and there's been a lot of Bluey that's had to happen. Some Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
I have adults that watch Bluey, and I've got to sit there and watch it sometimes. I'm like, I hate all of you.
Bluey's not bad. Bluey's good stuff. You know what? That's all right. But hey, don't be saying nothing bad about Bluey now. Bluey's a good show. But am I alone in that? And hopefully those of you that are in our audience could leave a message if you've seen the second season of Prodigy, and no spoilers, please. But
yeah, I've only seen up to episode 4. I'm watching episodes 5 and 6 tonight because we are reviewing them over on NerdTube 2 episodes at a time, and I'm only watching them 2 weeks at a time. So I mean, if you're going to spoil, that's fine. Just let me know. I'll step out. But
right, no spoilers. But am I alone in thinking that season 2? Well, not just season 2 of Prodigy, but Prodigy as a whole, to me, feels like it was challenging enough for me to follow wouldn't it be harder for the audience to follow just with, there's a lot of time travel involved or time-based concepts that you would think, how are we going to get, I don't know. I'm trying. I hopefully you understand what I'm saying, because I don't want to.
There is some chatter in the chat about it.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's what I'm being told as well. Once you get past the first couple of episodes, it starts picking up.
I would say get to like the middle of the first season, like episode 9 and 10 is like kind of is where you need to be in order for it to start being okay. Like, as I said, the first couple episodes for me were pretty cringe. I was sitting there and I was like grunting my way through it. Season 1 when it was first coming out. And as Jefferson says, we are Trek podcasters. We are Trek podcasters. We must watch all the Trek.
And it's not so much the quality of Prodigy I'm talking about, whether you think it was good or bad. I felt like is the concept and the plot too advanced for the audience, its directed audience, to be able to follow.
I think they took a step away from the child audience in season 2 so far. From what I've seen, I really feel like they were like, okay, kids are not watching this in season 1. They're like, let's kind of keep our foot in that realm, like of being a cartoon and being a little bit more light. But let's maybe age up the audience a little bit. Let's see, like, teenage or maybe young adult. Obviously. I feel like that's what they were going for in the first couple episodes of season 2, is they were like, we're going to kind of age this up a little bit. And that's why you get the more complex themes in there.
Right. Time travel is a very tricky concept. And I just thought, kids aren't going to understand the whole, they get some elements of time travel, but Star Trek goes deep into that stuff, and they can make it confusing. I mean, it took me.
Janeway can make time travel way confusing.
Oh boy, yeah.
As a kid, sometimes some of the technicalities of Star Trek went over my head, and then years later I watch it and I'm like, right, I get it now.
Right.
So there's always been that bit, because Star Trek it's science fiction. It's based on science. It's not fantasy like the other franchise with space wizards and telekinesis and stuff like that. So there's always going to be a bit of a sciencey thing about it, which will go over some heads.
There was a comment up here. I wanted to highlight, and where is it? It was something about. Hold on, man. I'll see if I can find it, but it was. Here it is. Would a Star Trek focus around the Klingons work? No. It would work for maybe like a 1 or 2 episode miniseries or something, but in my opinion, a Captain Worf show does not work. A Captain Sulu show does not work. A Klingon show does not work. There are
sidekicks.
Yes, there are certain things like you can have a good character. Worf is a great character, sure. He cannot carry an entire 10 episode season. The Klingons, good characters, sure. A Klingon centric show does not work. That is not a 10 episode season right there either. They could be the plot of your show, but if your main character, your core cast are the Klingons, that doesn't work. That's overusing a good. What's that?
Especially if they're Discovery Klingons, where you just have to constantly read subtitles.
Oh Jesus! Exactly. Yeah. Don't ask for something if you're not prepared to get that as a possibility. It's like, yeah, we want a Klingon show. Oh no, but not like that. We didn't mean like that.
I think the Klingons they're best as the sidekicks. Like it's kind of like
Yeah.
Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's not the Jack Sparrow show, and once you did get a Jack Sparrow centric movie, it flopped. Well, didn't flop, but it didn't do as well as the others, where he was merely the side show.
Right.
So, and I think it would be the same with the Klingons, because eventually you'd get tired of all the gruffness, and because the Klingons don't do anything subtly.
No, and you're right. It gets old. There are things that are good in small doses that really work and really work well. And I think that there can be a slippery slope you can get into where you take something that is good in small doses and then you want to make it more. You know what jumps into my mind, even though I don't think I've watched any episode to its full extent, but it's the feeling that I get when we talk about something like this. I think about the Cleveland show. So Cleveland is a character on Family Guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched some Family Guy. My impression of Cleveland was that as a side character, for the little bit that you saw, great, sure, whatever. But then you went and made an entire show. Now, I don't know how it went. I don't know how long it lasted. But to me, it just felt like that's a perfect example of taking something that works in small doses and then overdoing it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was not a good idea.
But ready for my counterpoint?
Sure, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Go.
Frasier and Cheers.
Yes, I know. There are those cases.
But and I will admit that Frasier is the exception to the rule. You are correct, because look at like Friends with Joey after that. That didn't work.
Right.
I mean,
even though Joey was one of the most loved characters of Friends,
it still flopped.
It still flopped because it didn't work on his own.
Mm-hmm. No, I admit, no, you are definitely right that is the majority of how it works. But we can always hope for like a Frasier situation where it just blows up. For some reason, it just works. Right.
Yeah, I'm all. I think if it works, that's great, and that was great that did that. I cannot go back in time and predict while Cheers was on that a show about Frasier would have been big. No idea. I was too young to have been in it like that. But that's my gut feeling is, as much as we like Worf, an entire series does Worf does not make. He's great in those small doses.
I agree with you. There has to be some, and that's why I always championed years ago, like back when New Trek first started in 2017, I always championed the Captain LaForge and Commander Kim series, where you had Captain Geordie LaForge.
Sorry.
Yes, Commander Harry Kim. Yes.
No, don't you mean Ensign Kim?
No. Look, he is still an ensign. There is no canonical proof that he ever made it past ensign. But I'm just saying, like, I think that would be a good pairing. You know what I mean? Like for that for Kim being his first officer, and you have those two main characters from two different shows. I feel like that was a really good blend. And even, as I said, they can't really do it per se now just because they've had him in Picard season 3. But I always thought that those two characters would have meshed really well together on a show about, just exploring, Captain, Commander Kim. Everyone's like, oh, Captain Kim. I'm like, no, we're not going to Captain Kim yet.
The world is not ready for that.
The world is not ready for Captain Kim, but Commander Kim.
We'll let it slide.
It could work. Begrudgingly, Commander.
But now he's been at the museum for how many years or something? Like, he's been at the museum for a long time, so it just wouldn't work. But yeah,
he's a Commodore
almost
now.
10 years ago, I always thought a Captain LaForge Commander Kim show would have been great.
Wow, very daring of you there.
I have no hate for Harry Kim. Like, I think it's hilarious that he's the forever ensign, but I never have any hate for Harry Kim. Like, I thought he got shafted, and I think there were a lot of decisions on Voyager that were pretty piss poor, including not ranking certain people up. You know what I mean?
I mean, they ranked.
They demoted Paris
They
and then
Paris and ranked him up again. And Kim is in the background going, "Seriously?"
Yeah, right. He even said it. I'm like,
yeah, I don't see a box on my chair.
Kim is that guy that is the image of that guy from the soccer game. You know who I'm talking about. The bald guy with the
and he's got his hands on his hips.
There with his his hands on his hips. And yeah.
No,
Harry Kim when Tom Paris got demoted and then promoted again.
Yeah.
Well, I always felt the Tom Paris thing, not tangenting too much, but I always felt the Tom Paris thing was more of he was more demoted temporarily because of his actions, and like he was on, not like sabbat, like he was in the doghouse for a while, and he was ensign again, but then he got out of the doghouse, so they restored his rank. It wasn't like he was promoted again. You know what I mean? But I still, again, even Kim said it in one episode. I remember he said, I could have been a lieutenant by now, maybe even a lieutenant commander. I think it was in season 7 when he said it. And I'm like, hell yeah, dude. Mm-hmm. You tell him, because really he should have been like, and some people say, oh, well, then on the Delta Quadrant rank doesn't matter. No, rank matters. You have your guy who is leading your operations team. That's what I never got about like the ranks on Voyager. It was like, okay, Paris, yes, I understand, because he's kind of got a field commission almost, but like Kim's like your head of operations. Why is an ensign out of
fresh out of boot? Yeah,
fresh out of Starfleet Academy, your head of operations. Like, it made no sense to me. And as I said, I liked Harry Kim. I'd never understood that character.
Well, but then again, we don't know how long that was supposed to last, because it was Voyager's first mission was just supposed to go run an errand and do a thing.
I actually know how long it was supposed to be, because I just watched an episode, and Janeway says a 3-week mission.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's how long it was supposed to last.
So sure, here's a very promising Starfleet graduate.
Yeah. Give him a chance.
Give him a chance.
It's a low risk mission.
We'll make him. He's an ensign. Let's make him the chief of operations.
Yep.
Sure. Why the hell not?
I see where.
Then they got stuck with it for 7 years.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? So Janeway just couldn't take the position away from. Now, granted, he probably did a great job at it. As I said, Harry Kim, I don't have any hate for him. I just the character of Harry Kim being in that position made no sense to me whatsoever. But I see your guys' point where you're like, let's make him out of operation. Let's give him a little bit of. But then you see what happened when they did that in the series, when they gave him command of a ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's that exact same episode where he says, I could have been a lieutenant commander by now. Like, yeah. Poor Harry Kim.
The Nightingale, that's it. Yeah, I was struggling for the name of the ship, yes. The Nightingale.
And he made his own ready room and everything.
Well, he did. Yep.
He took it totally seriously. It's like, this is my one and only chance.
He explained the whole thing to his mom in an episode where the crew all got some time with the Hirogen communication platform. I'm trying to remember the line he said, because his parents, his mom asked him why he hadn't been promoted, and he said, it's a small ship. There are only so many
senior
positions available.
Something like that. Yeah.
I still don't get that, because you can still, like, if you are up for promotion, like, you can still be promoted and be in your same position. You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense, because on TNG,
let me see if I can find it here.
Most people towards the end of the show were commanders or lieutenant commanders. Even Worf made lieutenant commander in Generations, right?
Yeah.
Or was he full on commander?
It was Generations. He got
commander. He was lieutenant and became lieutenant commander
in Generations. Yeah.
In Generations.
So, like, everybody, everybody was up at lieutenant command, and I get it. Like, there's more positions on the Enterprise D, but all these people were still in the same position that they had been in since season 2. Geordi was still chief of engineering. Worf was still chief of security.
Well, but there's a difference. There's position is one thing and rank is another.
I agree, because actually in Scouts, I'm heavily involved in Scouts my entire life, and there's a difference between rank and position. And that's but that's what I'm saying. But it doesn't make sense for Harry Kim because you can't give. So if anyone knows Scouts, you can't give SPL, which is your senior patrol leader, the rank, or you can't give them that position if they're a tenderfoot scout, which is the second rank. So that's what I mean. It's like, I mean, you can do that, but you shouldn't. So you're probably right. They probably were just like, oh, it's a pretty short mission. Let's give this little kid a little bit of, gumption.
Let him get his feet wet.
And then they were stuck for 7 years.
It's a 3-week low risk mission.
Oh, here's what he said. Here's what he said. He said, hold on. It's a small ship. There are only so many command positions available. So that was his response to
but
his...
he's in a command. He's lead of operations. Like he's already in a command position. He's
talking to his parents who don't know shit about rank.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's why I agree with you on the rank versus position thing. Like there are those are two different things.
I mean, Tuvok went from lieutenant to lieutenant commander and still had the same position.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, but that was Harry's response as to why he hadn't been promoted. I wouldn't see that as an official answer. More someone trying to dumb down something to his parents who don't understand rank. When he said command positions, I think the way it was meant, if I'm interpreting how it was written, was that there still has to be an underling. Somebody still needs to be the one to do the work. And I don't think if Harry wasn't the ensign and he was the lieutenant, well, you're still going to have someone do the work. So are you going to have any other ensigns? Is he the only ensign? Is there a need for him to be a lieutenant and then to tell the ensigns what to do?
Hang on, is anybody else in Voyager an ensign? They're all crewmen, aren't they?
Right.
They're all so he's literally the lowest command rank.
Yes.
For 7 whole years.
7 goddamn years. It's a shame.
Oh, poor Harry.
Brian, I would talk about the patrol method, but I think it's you already gave us a time check, and I mean I'm pretty sure Jefferson's is chopping at the bit to chop off.
Yeah. We're gonna have to abruptly end this live stream.
Yeah,
because
is the black van outside again?
I heard something screech to a halt outside. So
as long as you don't hear hut 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 hut
hut hut hut hut, hut.
You should be fine. You're not.
Hear something bang against the door.
Hear universal key clonk. You're being swatted.
Is there any certified mail in the mailbox? Better check for that. Make sure. Is there anything I have to sign for?
Well, that's why Alec had to go. Alec, they were probably pounding on his door and saying, "You didn't open your certified mail yet."
We saw you throw it on the floor.
Yeah, we saw you throw it. We're watching you.
We've got fake lawyers watching your stream.
We saw you throw it on the floor. Oh, that's killing me.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. So okay.
They were talking about the bullying guy being an ensign. I mean, okay. Like we saw him twice.
Was he an ensign or was he a crewman? I know it's from the training episode, the training day episode.
I know it's. I know that it was Wildman. Naomi Wildman's mom was.
Yes. She's referred to as Ensign Wildman. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's it. This is what was it? What's her daughter called?
Naomi.
Naomi.
I don't remember what. No, they were saying Naomi
name.
Wildman's mom. I don't remember what Wildman's mom.
Samantha Wildman.
Samantha. Yes, you're right.
Was
Samantha Wildman.
Because at one point, Seven encounters her in the corridor, and she goes, "Naomi, subunit of Ensign Wildman."
Oh yeah.
I know she just kind of disappeared all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Naomi's mom. I think she came back for like 1 or 2 episodes later on.
You see her every now and then, but
like you saw her a lot more in the early seasons. I like Naomi Wildman's mom's or Samantha Wildman. There were characters on Voyager that really should have just got more shine than they did, and they just didn't. I mean, the first officer's one of them. I mean, Chakotay got the shaft.
He got several episodes centered around.
He got 7 episodes of racial profiling, is what he got.
No.
Akuchimoya, land of my ancestor. I'm like, come on, man! Like
far from the bones of my people.
Yeah, far from the bones of my people. I'm like, I was like 7,
supervised by a fake Native American.
Yeah, that I knew that because our scout troop had a lot of Native American influence in our thing, and I knew that was bull crap back then when I was like 11. So,
you called it out at a young age.
I called it out at 11. I'm like, what is he talking about? Like, I felt bad for Beltran on that one. Like, he got the shaft in that show. And anyway, we could do a whole episode talking about the problems with Beltran's character, Chakotay.
If we can remember that, we'll do that next Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun. Love sitting around and talking Star Trek with all of you. And please keep up on Axanar News. We have the Axanar Newsletter, which you can see down there on the bottom of your screen, axanar.com/newsletter, to keep up with the ever popular question, when is it coming out? Well, follow the newsletter. That's where you'll get all of the information on Axanar. And of course, if you could, please become a member of the Patreon. That's patreon.com/Aries Studios. And we're going to be here again, hopefully again next Wednesday, to talk about more Star Trek stuff and all of that. And hope everyone has a great night. Peace. Live long and prosper. That's the wrong damn thing. Where's the you know what? You would think that I remember how to close a live stream, but
you couldn't even go live.
That's all, folks. That's how we close it.
Yeah, really.